Men, I know a guy who says, it's just my team, and maybe it is. But what happens when a man gives more passion, attention, money, and emotional energy to his team than he gives to his own heart, his marriage, his kids, or his walk with God? That may not just be fandom, that may be identity. Stay with me. I am Steve Cummings. Welcome to I Know a Guy podcast, a ministry of Bringing Kingdom. We are helping men understand their identity and live from it fearlessly every day. That's the promised land that we're all headed to. We're in a series called Status, the game men secretly play. And today, we're stepping into some dangerous territory. Ready? I'm about ready to get bombed here, right? Here's the territory. Sports. All right. Now, let me say this right away. I am not anti-sports. I love sports. There's nothing wrong with cheering for a team, and there's nothing wrong with wearing a jersey, okay? Nothing wrong with watching the game, going to the stadium, traveling with friends, the tailgating, the whole shebang, the rivalry, having a little fun with your buddies. Sports can actually be a gift, and they can create memories and build connection. They can give fathers and sons something to enjoy together, and they can bring men into shared conversation. But like anything else, sports can become more than sports, right? They can become an escape, they can become status, and they can become identity. And that is where we need to slow down and ask some honest questions, because a man can say, it's just my team, while his emotional life tells a very different story. If you get a group of men together, sports are one of the easiest ways to start a conversation, right? Hey, who's your team? Did you see the game last night? Can you believe that call? And we finally are going to win this year? Who knows? Or did you see who they signed? Or, who is overrated? Who's the greatest of all time? And before long, men are laughing, debating, trash talking, remembering old games, making predictions, and defending teams they've never actually played for, right? And that's part of the fun. But there's also another layer to it, because sports can give a man a place to belong, right? It gives him a tribe. You've got a uniform. There's a language. There's a history of the team, and their schedule and the scoreboard. There's a set of enemies. There's a set of heroes. There's always a reason to celebrate and to be angry and to feel alive. And for some men, that becomes powerful, especially if real life feels disappointing, and especially if marriage feels hard, or if work feels empty, and if his heart feels numb. How about this one? It's especially that way if he does not know how to connect emotionally with the people closest to him. Because with sports, a man can feel deeply without having to be vulnerable. He can yell, he can celebrate, he can grieve when his team's behind or loses a series. He can be angry and passionate, and he can wear his heart on his sleeve, but only about the game. And sometimes the woman in his life is quietly wondering, why does he have that much passion for a team, but not that much passion for me? That's a hard question, man, and it's a fair one. You see, sports status shows up in a lot of ways, right? Expensive seats, season tickets, traveling away from town to fly somewhere and watch your team play, signed memorabilia, team gear, insider knowledge, fantasy league, tailgate setup, you name it. We're talking stats and trades and history and injuries. And again, none of this is automatically wrong, man. But underneath, a man has to ask, what is this giving me? Is it giving me enjoyment, connection, rest, play, shared memories? Or is it giving me an identity? Because some men do not just follow a team, they need the team. They need it to feel alive. They need it to feel connected, to have something to look forward to feel like they belong somewhere, to have something to talk about with other men, because without it, they would not know what to do with their ache. And when their team wins, they feel bigger. And when their team loses, they feel personally wounded. And when their team is respected, they feel respected. When their team is mocked, they feel mocked. You see where I'm going with this? When their team has status, they have status. That's when fandom crosses a line, because now my identity is attached to someone else's scoreboard. And men, that's a fragile way to live. Your joy should not rise and fall based on whether grown men you have never met can move a ball across the field, hit it over a wall, put it through a hoop, or skate it into a net. Again, hear me. Enjoy the game. I do. Cheer, laugh, have fun. But when your team has more access to your heart than your family does, something's gone sideways. There's a verse in Exodus 20 that most of us know, but we may not think about it when it comes to sports. You know, if you look in the Bible and say, hey, give me something about sports. Yeah, there aren't any verses in sports, but God says this in Exodus 20, verse 3, you shall have no other gods before me. Now, we hear that and we think about idols made of wood or stone. We picture maybe ancient people bowing down to some statue, but man, idolatry is not just about statues. An idol is anything we look to for what only God can give. Identity, security, comfort, belonging, meaning, joy, escape, a sense of self-worth. Something can be a good thing and still become an ultimate thing. That's the danger, man. Sports can be a good thing, but if it becomes the thing that gives me belonging, meaning, emotional release, status, and identity, then I may need to be honest about what it has become in my life. It may not be just my team anymore. It may be a functional God, and functional gods always make demands. They will demand your time, your money, your attention, your emotional energy, your loyalty, your Sundays, your conversations, and your mood. And if you're not careful, you can give more of yourself to a team than you give to the Father. You can know more about the injury report than you know about your own son's heart. You can study the depth chart more than you study the word. You can track recruiting news more than you track what's happening in your marriage. And you can spend 3 hours yelling at a screen and then have no energy left to ask your wife, how are you really doing? Men, that's not freedom. Hear me clearly. That is misplaced worship. Here's where this connects to sonship. A beloved son is free to enjoy sports without being owned by sports. He's free to cheer his team without needing his team to tell him who he is. He can wear the jersey without needing the jersey to give him status. He can go to the game without escaping his life. He can talk sports with other men without using sports to avoid his heart. And he can celebrate a win without becoming arrogant. And he can even endure a loss without becoming unbearable. I remember that happening marrying into a USC family. They could not get through the rest of the week after USC loss. You know what? By Saturday afternoon, I was good. I was ready to live the rest of the week. It happens. He can also be passionate without being possessed. That's the difference, man, because the Father is not trying to take joy away from us. He's trying to restore order. Good things stay good when they remain in their proper place. But when good things become identity things, they begin to steal from the life the Father actually gave us. And I think this is where a lot of us men need to pause. We don't quit watching sports. We don't throw away the jersey. We don't cancel every game. I just want you to pause and ask, has this become too important to me? Has this become my escape from things I do not want to face? Has this become the easiest way for me to feel connected while avoiding real connection? And has this become the place where I feel most alive while my real relationships get the leftovers? Those questions are not condemnation, man. They're an invitation, because beloved sons do not need false identities. We are free to live fully present in the life the Father has actually given to us. I think one reason sports are so powerful for us men is that they let us feel things in a socially acceptable way, right? We may not know how to grieve, but we can be crushed when our team loses. A man may not know how to hope, but he can spend all offseason believing that this is finally the year, right? And a man may not know how to connect, but he can stand shoulder to shoulder with strangers in a stadium and feel like he belongs. And a man may not know how to talk about his pain, but he can talk for an hour about a blown call, a bad trade, or a coach or GM who needs to be fired, right? Am I right? And again, I'm not mocking that. I understand it. There's something beautiful about shared passion, but I also wonder how many men are emotionally fluent in sports and emotionally illiterate in their own homes. This is worth sitting with, because the Father did not create us to live detached from our own hearts. He did not create us to only feel safe expressing emotion through a team. He created us to be beloved sons who are alive, present, honest, connected, able to celebrate, able to grieve, repent, listen, and love, and be able to with the people entrusted to us, because sports can be part of a full life, but sports cannot become a substitute for one. So here's the question for the day. Has your team become more than a team? Not to someone else, to you. Does your mood rise and fall with the scoreboard? And do you spend more emotional energy on your team than on your family? Do you know more about your favorite players than you know about what's happening in your wife's heart? Ouch. I've been there. Do you make more room for game day than you make for prayer, rest, connection, or honest conversation? And do you use sports to avoid being present or to gain status with other men so you can feel like being along? Again, no shame, man. Just honestly take that to the Father and ask Him, Father, have I let a good thing become an identity thing? And then I want you to listen, because He is not trying to shame you. He's inviting you into freedom. So men, enjoy the game. Cheer for your team. Wear the hat. Invite the friends over. Make the wings. Go to the stadium. Have fun. But do not let a scoreboard tell you who you are. Do not let a team carry the weight of your identity. And don't let sports become a place where you feel more alive while the life the Father gave you awaits for your attention. You are not your team. You're not your seats. You're not your gear. You're not your fantasy score. You're not your team's record. You're a beloved son of the Father, and beloved sons are free to enjoy good things without being enslaved by them. Every time a man remembers who he is, the kingdom shows up.